Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Tonight we're going to be checking out the new Rust EQ from Acustica Audio. We're going to be checking out all the features and seeing how it sounds. We're going to put it up against the Universal Audio Hitsville and the kit plugins MoQ. So Motown is definitely in the air. We've got 3 plugins in the matter of a month or 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, all emulating the Motown super rare passive EQ that was developed and designed by the engineers at Motown Studios. So pretty sought after piece of hardware. And now we've got three emulations of it to play with, which is great. It's interesting to see these things happen. They kind of come out in bunches like this. Acustica Audio, it makes really, really high quality plugins. I have a bunch of their stuff. It all sounds great. Functionality is probably my biggest concern with Acustica. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, so we'll just kind of cover the basics. So this is an emulation of the Motown 7-band passive EQ. It's also a proportional EQ. By that it means at lower cuts and boosts, it's got a very broad slope. And when you start pushing the gain up or down, the Q on the bands gets tighter, a little more narrow. Trying out the UA ones and the kit one a week and a bit ago or 2 weeks ago there. Sounds great. I've never touched the actual hardware units of this, but the emulations sounded great, and whether or not they sound in comparison to actual hardware or not, I can't say definitively, but I was definitely impressed with both plugins. But yeah, back to Acustica a little bit. It's a really interesting company. I believe they're based in Italy. The plugins that they design are sonically really, really incredible. They're very, very power hungry for the most part, and they're not the most functional plugins to use. I have a real hard time using them in real time just because of how they react. Not so much maybe their EQs or their harmonic stuff, but definitely their compressors I find really, really difficult to use in real time just because there seems to be a little bit of latency. All of their plugins are analog sampled, so it's hardcore convolution technology. I think it's their own proprietary way that they do this. All their stuff sounds incredible. It's just, I always kind of feel like their plugins are a little bit convoluted and not the most functional to use and really lack some key features that I would like to see in the digital world. And I don't know if that's just because of the architecture of the plugins or just how they like to work. They're kind of on the UA end of the spectrum. They really kind of try and stay tried and true to the analog equipment that they're emulating. I haven't tried this out at all. I don't know how this sounds. The whole purpose of the stream is for me to try it out in real time and kind of figure out my way through the plugin as I go and give my honest thoughts and opinions on how it sounds. So I'm sure it's going to sound great. I haven't heard an EQ from Acustica that doesn't sound great. There's some key features that I really look for in plugins. Workflow is really important to me. Functionality is really important to me. I love working in the digital domain. I'm all in the box. I work strictly off headphones for mixing and mastering. Not strictly, but 98% of my time now is just on the headphones. I love trying to push the envelope creatively and seeing what can be done in the box. So I really find functionality and taking advantage of the digital workspace, I find that really important to me. So I'm a laptop user. I'm also portable. I'll cover this every time I look at a plugin, but can I resize the plugin? How much screen real estate is it taking up? I'm seeing that they do have some resizing, which is new for Acustica. Generally, they don't have that. It's great to see. 0 to 1, 1 to 1.5, 2 to 2x. So we've got some options. Let's see what that does. Doesn't do anything. Maybe it's kind of a thing that I have to reset it or something. Oh, yeah. So I have to reset the plugin in order for the size to change, which is kind of disappointing. I would rather it not be that way. I would rather just being able to, I can't even fit that. That's probably not even what I'm fitting on the screen now. I'd hate to see what even 2 times looks like. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, I mean, that's unusable. It's great that it's there, but not a very useful feature on the plugin, but it's nice to see that it's there. So how's the GUI look? How's the graphical user interface look? It looks really good. It looks like the Motown EQ, real simple controls. It's got a little bit of a vintage vibe, which is awesome. We've got some oversampling options here. Just generally with Acustica plugins, they're pretty heavily oversampled. Lots of latency, and as you can see, we're running 1400 samples down here in Pro Tools. There's a 4x on the preamp by the looks of it. It doesn't change our oversample rate, so that must just be built right in. Already part of this latency. Other key features I really look for, and again, I don't really find on Acustica is AB and undo, and I don't see either of those here, so that's too bad. I like both of those things. And no meters. I really like meters. I'm a real meter nerd. I like to see what's coming in and what's going out, and to be able to easily do that. What else we got here? So 7-band EQ, fixed frequencies, 50, 130, 320, 800, 2K, 5K, 12.5K. Got some input trim and some output. I'm gonna guess that their input trim is just driving their preamp. I'm gonna guess it probably actually doesn't change volume, which is kind of characteristic of their plugins. We have a preamp emulation, which most all of their EQs have, and compressors. Kind of most of their plugins have the option of kind of adding some sort of color. We got an EQ in and out, and we've got mid-side, which I'm not sure exactly how that works. We'll find out. We'll mess around with that a little bit. Yeah, let's just jump into it and see how it sounds. I've got a few different tracks lined up here, which are the same ones that I tried out the Hitsville and the MoQ on, so that's good. And it'll be neat to be able to A/B these. I was definitely really impressed with both the kit MoQ and the UA Hitsville. The UA Hitsville in particular, I was really pleased with. Yeah, we're just gonna start messing around with it and see what we kind of come up with and see what the thoughts and the feelings are. So currently we're off. It's not hearing too much of a difference when I engage the EQ, so it's not like it's just doing something right off the rip. See what the input does. So yeah, input is driving their saturation, their preamp emulation, all that kind of stuff. So how hard are you hitting the EQ as you would in the analog world? So yeah, just adding some color and some saturation. I'll just crank it and see what that sounds like. So that's fully cranked input. Can't say I'm hearing much. So maybe we have to get the pre on for that to happen. Output is definitely doing output. Okay, so we know that works. So let's boost the top end. So that's 6 dBs. Or I'm not sure if it's measured in, I'm assuming it's measured in dBs, but yeah. That's out. So really pleasing. Yeah, and you can really hear that proportional factor as you just kind of give it a little bit. It's really subtle. Really subtle. Sounds great. Let's cut a little bit. And again, you can really hear that proportional factor kind of kick in there. Let's check out the bottom end. So the edges, anytime I'm checking out an EQ, the edges of the spectrum are really where I want to hear it first. Really what I want to try on it first, because that's pushing on the edges of what the digital domain can do. It's pushing on the edges of the Nyquist theory. So how much sound can be, how much of the audio spectrum can be reproduced in the digital domain. And you're really going to hear that on the top and the bottom of an EQ, particularly on the top, because that's where you're going to run into some sort of frequency cramping. That's probably not going to be the case in the Acustica stuff, just because they do oversample quite heavily. Their EQs generally just sound great. But yeah, top and the bottom are always where I'm going to go to first. So we've heard the top, let's hear the bottom. Ooh, that sounds nice. sounds great. Holy, does that sound good. Nice and warm. Massive extension. But still pretty focused. It doesn't just get like blobby on us. Or muddying it up. It sounds really nice. Sounds great. Let's see what the 5K sounds like. Yeah, also really pleasing. Definitely gets a little pointy and maybe not what we want to be boosting on this kind of track, but sounds really nice. And again, you can really hear that proportional aspect, so that's great. 5K in, 5K out. 2K. Pretty focused sounding 800. I've said this before, but this is one of my favorite frequencies. Yeah, this is really pleasing. I kind of feel that way with the reaction's really good on this EQ actually from Acustica, which is great. I usually feel like their plugins, there's a real read and react time, and I'm not getting that from this. It feels like as I'm turning it, I'm hearing it, which I feel like on a lot of their plugins is just like a little bit of latency, and that really stops me from using it. But this feels pretty instantaneous, which is awesome. I also noticed that this plugin was much smaller than their normal plugin sizes. Their normal plugins are like several gigabytes to download, and this one was only like 150 or 200 megabytes. So not sure what they're doing differently or if they've figured out a new way of making their plugins, but that's phenomenal to me. It was really quick and easy to install. So lots of times they're installing their plugins and their installer apps can be a bit of a headache and can definitely eat up a lot of real estate on your computer. I wish they made that a little more streamlined. That would be awesome. But this was really small and it feels really good to use so far. So I'm really digging that. Yeah, as I said, lots of times it just feels pretty latent when you use their EQs, and I don't really like that. Let's keep on here. We got a couple more bands to check out, and then we'll pop over to some other genres and see how it feels. These bands that they pick, the Motown bands, the fixed frequencies are all great. They're all frequencies you want to play with. You either want to add or maybe get rid of a little bit, but I mean, for the most part, I haven't really wanted to cut on all of this. Let's go back to 320. So that's 320 in. You see, and there's a second there with the bypass. There's a little bit of latency with this bypass. So that's a bit weird. That's what I mean about some of their plugins. They're hard to use in real time because it's hard to trust what you're hearing is. Nice focus cut though, if you really wanted to. Yeah, let's see what 130 is. So yeah, some 130 in. 130 out. Well, let's head over to some more like roots rocky vibes here. Or upside drag, sorry. Alright, yeah, we'll boost some of this again. Yeah, sounds great. What's out? So with the Acustica stuff, and I think this is just because of all of their analog sampling and how that works and how they make their plugins, they all kind of have a little bit of a smeariness to me, and it's in a kind of actually in a really nice way. It's very kind of analog-esque, or really pleasant to hear. And you can hear that in here. I feel like the top just gets a little smeary in a pleasant way. Bottom end sounds great. Just sounds massive. It just kind of pushes the whole mix forward. It sounds amazing. Out. See, and I just wish, like, again, I appreciate the homage to analog equipment and how analog equipment functions, and it forces you to use your ears and not your eyes, but I just like to know, like, how much am I actually pushing here? I just need to know, and maybe that could just be an option so that people can choose to see it or not see it if they want to. And this is where meters would be great. If I could just see what was coming in and what was going out, and I could just quickly dial the level back to where it was. Yeah, and that little latency catch there on the bypass and engage is a bit frustrating. Sure sounds nice though. Alright, let's see what this preamp does. Whoa. Where'd our top end go? Well, that's a substantial switch. Holy smokes, we lose so much top end when we get when we engage that pre. Holy smokes. So this is pre out, pre on. Definitely feels like an effect. I mean, maybe this is what the actual hardware sounds like when you engage it. I have no idea. Losing a lot of top end though. It's pre on again. Pre off. I mean, it's pleasing, but it definitely changes up the tone of this thing. So pretty drastically. Becomes a different unit, really. Let's try pushing the input gain. So this is pre-on, input at 0. So that's maxed out input. definitely is really pleasing to listen to. So bypassing the EQ doesn't bypass the pre. Gets pretty dark. You can really hear the input trim in there though. Let's copy that over. So input trim cranked. Input trim at 0. Definite difference. So back to cranked. It just sounds really fat, really meaty, in a really pleasing way. Back to flat. That's great. It's a really nice color. Let's see what the oversample does, if we can hear that. That might be pretty subtle. That might be a pretty subtle thing to do on stream, but we'll try it out anyways. So these are both matched on how much they're driving now, and the bottom one will have the oversample on. So no oversample. Oversample. Oh yeah. No oversample. You can definitely hear that. That might be a pretty finite thing to hear if you're listening on the phone, or if you're listening on a smaller speaker, but there's a definite. So we can go back to the oversample here. Just feels like there's way more depth into it. You can really kind of hear the spectrum push either way, either end, which is awesome. Yeah, when we go back to the normal, it just kind of flattens out. Oversample. Regular. It just, and like in my headphones, it's just kind of like the front to back, really. I can really hear it. So regular. Oh yeah, it's like 3D. So with the 4 times on. So that's great. That's pretty impressive. Okay, let's see how this mid-side works, because I don't understand. I don't get two copies, so let's set up some different settings here. We'll give the mid some vocal, maybe some bottom. And we'll switch those sides. So the settings are the same on the mid and the side. So if I change them here, does that... Oh, so that's kind of a bummer. I can only do either mid or side. I can't individually manipulate the mid and the side. So kind of pointless. It turns it into a single band EQ rather than actual mid-side EQ. That's a bit of an L for me. Give me an extra version where I can do that, or don't really give me mid-side at all. I don't know. I guess you could use it for sure, but I don't see why I would. All right, now for the real question: how the heck does it sound against the Hitsville and against the MoQ? How do they look? The Acustica looks pretty nice. It looks pretty great. They obviously spent a little bit more time, a little more depth in that GUI. These two look a little flatter, because that's what's important. It's how it looks, not how it sounds. But if we're just judging looks here, I think this sounds pretty great. So maybe we'll just do some arbitrary settings. So we're just kind of doing it blind, and we'll just see how they match up here. So we'll do some pretty significant boosts. We'll give some 5K, give some 800. We'll give some 50. And we'll see what some 5K sounds like. And we'll do some cuts in here as well. We'll cut a little bit of here. Or maybe we'll cut some 5K. Let's cut some 5K. Boost some 2K. So we got a couple cuts and boosts happening. Let's just match this up a little bit. Oh yeah, our buddy the Hitsville is stepped, which is not a fan of, but is what it is. So, Rust. Hitsville.
When you come around with your taste still on my mouth.
Back to the Rust.
We're so much older than we used to be, but your eyes, they stay young.
Man, radically different.
Free, but your eyes, they
Back to
stay
Hitsville.
young.
Hitsville just sounds so much sharper to me, like it sounds way more proportional. The Rust just seems really, really open, like more natural. Let's listen to the flat again here. What's our flat at? Okay, it's still up. Rust. Oof. Rust sounds good. Hitsville just sounds way more mid-rangey. God, my settings are all matched, right? Yeah, they are. MoQ. Rust just sounds, the width on it is incredible. Yeah, Rust has it for sure. Hitsville. Interesting. Yeah, Rust just seems open, natural. It seems really, well, it just sounds more analog, I guess, for lack of a better word. Hitsville just seems really scooped. Every time I switch to it, it's like, where'd my mids go? And the bottom is just so much more pronounced on the Hitsville. MoQ is really pleasant, but it seems to lack the depth that the other ones have. Rust. Hitsville. MoQ. Interesting. Let's copy these settings over to some pop country and see what it sounds like there. So we're starting on Rust. Hitsville. MoQ. Okay, maybe we should try something that's not as extreme. Let's just try some general settings here, like not as scoopy, not as pushed. It's funny, I was so well impressed with the UAD one last week. I just couldn't get over it, and it's instantly trailing. That's interesting. Rust. Hitsville. Ooh. Now this is different. Back to Rust. Interesting. Hitsville. Okay. MoQ. Rust. Hitsville. Hitsville sounds pretty nice on these settings. The MoQ sounds nice. It sounds really musical. It just lacks the depth that the other two have. Back to Rust. We'll go to the verse. Hitsville. But all my never against disappear at the hint of a spark. Then we burn out of control. MoQ. Body and soul till we fade out like smoke in the dark. I don't know, at these settings I kind of think the Hitsville sounds really great. It sounds more focused. There's a little more depth and life to the Rust. Yeah, totally. I agree. I totally agree with you, Brandon. It sounds like more 3D. And it's just more pleasant. The Hitsville feels really focused. The top on the UA just kind of really opens up to me. Interesting. Hitsville. MoQ. Rust. All right. Let's go back and try pushing the top end on the Rust with the preamp in. Rust just flat. Pre-on. Oof, that's pretty nice actually. Flat. Boosted. Bypassed. Ooh. Let's try it on some pop here. Okay, so this is pre-on, flat. Pre-on with the EQ boosted. Flat. Far more noticeable on this genre. Interesting. That's pretty nice. Well, this thing sounds pretty great. No ifs, ands, or buts. Sounds pretty nice. Okay, so let's recap. New Acustica EQ from Rust, motor EQ based on the Motown EQ. This thing sounds awesome. Sounds really, really great. seems a little bit more functional from a user standpoint than most of Acustica's stuff. It moves a little quicker, it reacts a little quicker. There is a little bit of latency in the bypass. You can really hear that. It kind of takes a minute to engage. But yeah, this thing sounds great. All the bands sound awesome. Cut and boost, really natural sounding, really open. Lots of depth, lots of dimension. The pre only seems to work when engaged. The input, trim, and output. Don't really hear anything in bypass or when playing stuff through without the pre on. Yeah, nothing bad to say about all the bands. I would love to see some AB and some undo. That would be great. The resizing function on the plugin is kind of useless. This is the normal size, and when we sized it up, not only do you have to make the plugin inactive and then reactivate it to make the size different, it gets massive. I'm not sure why anybody would want that. So that's a bit of an L. But from a sound quality perspective, this thing sounds amazing. So we did a couple of different shootouts against the Hitsville and against the MoQ, and this thing really came through. We did one that was really arbitrary, pushed EQ settings, one that was really dramatic, and one that was a little more tame. And I think this thing shone in both of those. In the pushed category, the Hitsville sounded really kind of wild to me. Kind of came in third. On the last pushed one, the Rust came out on top, but the UA sounded a little more close. The top end on the UA sounded really nice and open. This thing just sounds super analog-y, super vibey, lots of depth, lots of dimension, which is what Acustica's known for. And it's maybe their most functional EQ that I've tried. It really reacts and reads really quickly. But yeah, definitely worth checking out. Out of the 3 that are available right now, or that just came out, I think this would be the one that I would go to. They all sound really good though. That's not a problem. I think that's going to do it for me. Thanks for tuning in. And if you're catching this on YouTube, please don't forget to drop me a like and a follow and a subscribe if you're interested. All right. Thanks so much, and have a great night.